Welcome back to the Photobooth podcast. I am Nicole. I own a photo booth business in Florida called Own the Mama Booth and Own Your Mama Co. And I'm joined with Catalina, owner of Modern Photo Booth, Modern Activations, and Photo Booth Mastery. How are you, Kat?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good. Today we were talking about, even though we're halfway into the year of 2024, I think it's still really valuable to talk about what are some businesses that you can kind of start with low cost and high return on investment. And I kind of wanted to start this conversation to kind of see, because we're both entrepreneurs, and I wanted to ask you, what are some of the entrepreneurial jobs that you've had in your life? And if you think that they were valuable or profitable, like, let's just chat about it.
Yeah, I've had many other businesses before Photobooth. And I mean, I still to this day collect businesses, right? Like I don't just run a photo booth business. I have a studio rental business. I have an audio guest book business. We do virtual tours. I do coaching. I have courses. Like I have multiple revenue streams, not even including like affiliate links, which I
Yeah.
used to always think were such a crock. Anytime I was like, someone was talking on like Instagram or TikTok about like affiliate marketing is like such a passive way to make income. It really is.
Listen. Well, that's a whole other one we could do.
I
I
know.
love affiliate marketing, clearly.
It's so good. Every time I get
Yeah,
an email, it's like, you just made $120. I'm like, for doing what? Because I did nothing.
exactly. Mm-hmm.
You know?
It's so
But
good.
before that, before I
Yeah.
was so business savvy, I guess, yeah, I started a lot of things. So, I mean, I think I've done like a lot of the typical jobs people did, like babysitting, especially like in high school, that kind of stuff. Um, I sold apples at a farmer's market. That one was
Specifically apples. That's amazing. From like an apple
well,
orchard?
my friend owned an apple orchard, and so her parents
Amazing.
would send us to sell the apples, and we got to keep the profits from it. So
Heck
technically not
yeah.
my business, but kind of, because I still had to shine the apples and sell them to people, right? So
Amazing. Oh my gosh,
we had
that's
a
so cool.
popsicle business a long time ago too. That one was actually pretty good. Food businesses are hard though. You know,
Yeah.
your profit margins are really thin. There's a lot of regulations. You know, it's people's preference when it comes to food. And you know, my husband ran a food business for a very long time, very profitable the way he did it, but it was so much work, like
It's a
so
lot.
much work, all week,
Yeah.
all weekend, all evenings, like it was crazy. How about you? What kind of businesses did you
Um,
have before?
so my sister is a photographer and videographer, so she kind of let me play around with learning how to edit and work in Photoshop and work in Premiere Pro and edit videos and stuff. So I started to do edits for photographers. So,
Nice.
I mean, that's one of the biggest blockers too with photographers is like they do these photo shoots and they've got hundreds of photos that you have to cull through and then
Yep.
edit. So my job was to cull through. The photographer would do photo shoots, family photo shoots, portraits, whatever, send all of the work to me, and then I would cull through all of them and then edit. So sometimes it was like finer edits, so like removing all of the blemishes,
Mhm.
adjusting the color, all of that stuff. And then my sister did like fine art photography, so it was like really super
Nice.
creative sometimes. So I did that. I've also like done babysitting. I've cleaned houses. I dabbled in all of the things that I knew how to do, right? I knew how to take care of a kid. I knew how to clean. So
Yeah.
did those things, did those things. Yeah, and then stumbled upon, man, photo booths and opened the door to so many other opportunities. And I
Yeah.
love what you talked about, like streams of revenue, because that was such a transformative point in my life where I realized how valuable having additional revenue streams was.
Mhm.
And how even just starting in the photo booth business kind of opens the door to those kinds of different things.
Yeah.
But what were some of your, like, have you always had additional revenue streams? Like, or is that something that you just started
No. Yeah, it was well, okay, so similar to you, my business before starting a photo booth business was photography, right? I
Mm,
dabbled in a whole bunch of different kinds of photography, and I had decided I wanted to be a wedding photographer, and so I second shot for a lot of photographers for years before I felt confident actually going out on my own. And then I
smart.
remember, yeah. Well, it's a
Listen,
wedding.
so many people just like do it and then they have no experience. So that second shooting is a great way to kind of get your toe in and not have
Yeah.
the full responsibility of it. So, so smart.
And you learn so
Yeah.
much too, right? Like I remember I didn't really understand the difference between like a prime lens and a zoom lens and like when to use what. And it wasn't until like I really started working with these really experienced photographers that I got to learn all these things, right?
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I did my first couple of weddings and I'm like, I hate this. This is awful. This is too long. I'm not making enough money for the amount of work I have to do. Drunk guests are the worst. So instead, I got into a business that deals only with drunk
Yeah.
guests. Um, but
So true.
it was too much for me. I knew it
Mm.
wasn't what I wanted to do, and I knew I love photography. So I went to WPPI, which is like the Wedding Portrait International Portrait Photographers something.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's a convention in Vegas. It's fantastic, and that's where I stumbled on a photo booth. I met Photo Booth Supply Co. And I saw their photo booths and I'm like, this is like a mobile studio. This is everything I wanted to be. I love controlling things and I can control everything here, you know? The lighting was beautiful, the prints were beautiful, and it just clicked. I had no money, like zero, like had no business even being in Vegas. The only reason I was there was because a psychic told me it was going to change my life, and so I did whatever I could. True story. I did whatever I could to get to Vegas, which meant splitting a room with two friends at Excalibur Hotel.
Oh
I
my
smelled like
gosh.
Axe body spray the whole week. Um,
That's
but yeah,
amazing.
we did it and it just went off from there. Like we made six figures in our first year. We expanded, like it just kept going, going and going. And so, it felt like I had finally come into my moment, of like all
Yeah.
the I wouldn't say they're necessarily failures, all the learning I had done from previous businesses and stuff like that just all came to be in this one business that allowed me the freedom while making high revenue, and being creative. And that was what really got me into photo booths.
I love that. And I want to kind of circle back to the photographer thing too, because with photography, I got to watch this because my sister is in that industry. So I got to watch her go from photographer to videographer for weddings specifically. And the responsibility is so scary because if
Yeah.
your SD card gets corrupted, you don't have a backup. Like if you
Yeah.
lose footage, it is catastrophic. Like it is so, so
Yeah.
terrible, not only for you as a business, but like for the couple, you know? And what I love about the photo booth business is that it is such an important, like it's a valuable part, but it's
Yeah.
if like something, God forbid, goes wrong, it's okay. Like it's
Yeah.
not the end of the world. Like you're not going to get sued, like it's
Yeah.
not as much pressure. And when I came across the photo booth, I was like, okay, checks all of these boxes. Like
Yeah.
there's not as much pressure. There's not as much competition compared to like photographers and videographers. Like
Oh my God.
if
Yes.
you go on these
Anyone.
like Facebook groups and someone says I'm looking for a photographer, in 3 minutes there's like 100 people posting and linking and like putting themselves out
Everyone
there.
and their
So
mother. Yeah.
it is so competitive. It's such an competitive market and it's so difficult to stand out. So it's check number one, yeah, not as much responsibility, but check number two, it's like so much more niche and
Hmm.
you can have so much more fun.
Yeah.
You're not there as long. Photographers and
Yep.
videogrophers are there, gosh,
12,
what, like 12
15 hours.
hours,
Yeah.
14
A lot,
hours?
sometimes longer. Yeah.
And a photo booth is there for 4,
3, 4.
5.
Yep.
Yeah, 3. Yeah. Like
Or sometimes like you're there for half an hour to drop it off and pick it up, right? Because you do drop off.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't even have to be there and you can still make money and provide that experience. So like I love this option for people as a way to make additional revenue if they are in this industry of like photographer, videographer, or even like
Hmm.
a venue owner. If you own a venue, and you
Yep.
have events, like this is a great way to make additional revenue. Yeah, I mean, we kind of went all over the place with this, but as far as best business to create in 2024, I think Photobooth is one of the best, if not the
Yeah.
best. But there's also other ways that you can make income. Okay, so Kat, if you were to start over and start another business in 2024, what
Yep.
would it be?
Okay. There's a lot of things because obviously I like starting businesses, but the first thing I think is so important that I think there's a huge need for is virtual assistants that are
Mm,
very niche specific. I find that there's a lot of virtual assistants that are like generic assistants, and great, there's a need for that. But for example, a marketing assistant. So if you know how to do social media content, if you know how to do blog posts, you don't even need to know how to like actually write the post or anything like that. But if you know how to schedule it, how to put it into Squarespace or whatever, if you know how to edit photos so that they're the right size for whatever media, or if you know how to create reels, like that is something that people need because let me tell you, it's time consuming. I would love a virtual marketing assistant. Hint, hint, if anyone out there listening. So that's one that I would probably start. It doesn't take a lot of resources. Everyone has a
mm,
phone nowadays.
yeah.
And a computer for the most part. And even if you don't, like you can go to the library. Libraries have free access to computers, you know? What's another one that I would start? I mean, the easy ones are like cutting lawns, right? If you are going to do snow removal, if you live here in Canada, like a lot of time you can
Yeah.
make a quick dollar if there's a snowfall and you have a shovel, you can make $20 to $40 a driveway, you know, and it doesn't take that long. Hopefully it's not a huge snowfall. That one I'm less inclined to do, but I always,
Yeah.
do the math in my head when I see these posts. Another one that I think is probably an easy one to start. Obviously, like babysitting is really easy to do if you like kids. I wouldn't recommend doing it if you don't like
Yeah.
kids. But I mean, then there's always like the gig economy stuff, right? If you have a car, there's always Uber.
Yep.
There's Uber Eats, there's Grubhub, all those kinds of things. God, there's so many things you could do now to make money. Even buying stuff at thrift stores and reselling them on like Facebook
Yes.
Marketplace. Like that, I know Gary Vee does a ton of that, but like I know
Yeah.
other people who do that, and some people can make a really good amount of money, doing it. Yeah, there's a lot of businesses I would potentially start if I had to start all over again, but those are a few of them. How about you?
No,
If
you said
tomorrow,
a lot of them. I was gonna say like babysitting too. Like, um, we were talking about this earlier, but babysitters are hard to come by, but also like you can charge a lot of money because
yes.
if someone's gonna trust you with their like the most important thing in their life, their child, right?
Mhm.
Um, and it's a lot of responsibility. So you can charge quite a bit. Like I've seen people charge 25 up to 35 up to $40 per hour,
Yeah.
which is like a crazy amount of money, but it's true. Like you can charge quite a bit of money doing that. And
Yep.
several hours a weekend for a date night every week, like, and people need that. It's a
Mhm.
necessary thing. I would think of anything that if I were to like do it all over again, anything in the world that I would see is like a necessary thing that wouldn't go away um in a pandemic situation if that were ever to happen again, right? One of those
Oh
things that
God.
would be necessary again, right? Like Uber, people still were like trying to order groceries. Like all of those things are in high demand and never not going to be. So that's what I would do if I were to do it all over again. But then now that I know about photo booths, I would also just start another one. So,
Well, and you can
if
also
I,
do virtual booth. That's what
yeah,
we did through the pandemic. We completely pivoted to a virtual booth and it changed my business completely. It just
yeah,
really opened my eyes to like how versatile photo booths are. But
yeah,
yeah, let's never speak of the pandemic again.
I know. Not again.
You know
Yeah,
what I always
no,
think though? with these like, and I don't know if you've ever had this thought too, but I feel like if I did um the grocery shopping, what I can't remember, Uber Eats, or no, it's not Uber Eats. What's it called?
Instacart.
Thank you, Instacart.
Yeah.
There is like such a need for people who actually know how to pick fruit, like, and
Can
don't
we
get
talk
you.
about this?
Yes, there's like opportunity there for big tips if you can just pick the fruit that's not rotten.
Pick me an apple that isn't completely bruised. Like, I would
Yes,
love you forever. I would
right.
choose you forever.
Or like bag my stuff properly. Don't
Yeah.
stick my eggs at the bottom of the giant Costco box. Like, or I get something that's frozen and it's like half melted because it took
Uh,
them forever to get it to me. And I'm just like, if I did this, I feel like I would make so much money on tips just based on like very
Hair.
basic common sense
Yeah.
and care. Yeah.
Yeah. So true.
Oh my God. We should try that one day, like an
Mhm.
experiment.
Yeah, right? Yeah, so kind of going back to where this even started, we talked about why I loved Photobooth because once I started it, like my eyes were open to all the other opportunities within the industry.
Hmm.
Can you talk about like what your thoughts are on that? Like other things you could do because it's not just photo booths, right? Like it's not just you rent it out for the wedding on a weekend. Like what are some other opportunities there?
Oh gosh, there's so many. So like we have a brand that's just weddings, and just our wedding brand does about a quarter million of revenue a year
Wow.
on its own. And then we have another brand that does corporate, and that one's a seven-figure business on its own, not including
Wow.
the wedding stuff. And so, there's so, and within the corporate world, there's like trade shows, there's galas, there's brand experiences, there's experiential marketing, there's pop ups, Santa photos. Gosh, the list just kind of goes on and on and on. We really have been focusing lately on like movie premieres and doing like really interactive and immersive kind of like um, videos and stuff like that. A lot of green screen, that kind of thing. But there's just so many. And then there's add-ons, right? Like audio
Yeah.
guest book is such an easy add-on for photo booths. Like if you don't have one, you should definitely get one. Those are
Yep.
great for closing out clients, doing add-ons, making a bit of extra revenue on your actual photo booth. Um, so yeah, so I think like there's a lot of possibilities. Also, installs is another one. I know you do a ton of drop offs. Like that's a whole other
Yep.
market. Like it's just, there's so many use cases for a photo booth out in the world.
Oh, absolutely. As long as you're continually creative, I think it will
Mhm.
never end, right? Like as long as
Yeah.
you're continually looking on ways that you can improve, watching trends, like seeing what's going on in the world and staying creative, I think the potential is limitless. And um yeah, I love the industry for that reason. Like it doesn't just end at photo booths at weddings. There's so many other applications for it. Um
Yeah.
yeah.
And I would say start like, if you're even remotely curious about it, if you love events, if you love photography, or even if you don't like know how to do photography, but you love the idea of it, or just like the emotion that you bring to people
Yes.
at weddings or parties, like that's almost the best part. Especially seeing people like when they see their photo and they're like laughing or like, I don't know, it's great.
It's so
Um,
great.
yeah, but I mean, we have the guide, the How to Start Your Photo Booth Business Guide, which is a guide I used when I got my photo booth business, which I feel like is why I was able to do things so quickly. Because
Love.
I did have some business knowledge, but photo booth business is a little bit different, right? And this guide will give you a lot of insight on how to like fast track your booth business, right? So definitely download that. That's in the comments. And Nicole, did you use that when you started? I'm curious.
I actually didn't. I didn't know that it
No.
was there, but I kind of when I saw the ads for Photobooth Supply Co, I looked at their website and I saw the marketing photo of like the girl walking with the photo booth on her own, and that was the only blocker in my head was like, can I do this by myself? I
Hmm.
can. Sold. Like you didn't even
Yep.
have to like tell me what to do.
I know what picture
And
you're talking about too.
yeah. And then as soon as I got it, I was like, I'm such a visual and like I have to like play with it myself. So I
Yeah.
knew that I needed to like mess with it and like learn that way too. So the resources have been incredibly helpful. The team at Photobooth Supply Co., the support team is like next level.
I know.
So
So good.
yeah, it's so great. So make sure,
Yeah.
yeah, to check out the How to Start guide. It is a free guide. You don't have to pay anything. It is a free How to Start guide. It will send you through the entire process, start to finish. So make sure to check that out, and we'll see you on the next one.